Susan. My name is Suzanne Kingon. I am the Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Department of Education, and I thought it might just be helpful to, over lunch to give you a quick overview of the Department's TransformED strategy. So TransformED was published back in March 2025. The background to TransformED lies in the Department's response to the independent review of education. In considering that review, the Minister indicated that alongside his critical work on special educational needs, his key priorities during the current mandate would be reform in the areas of curriculum, assessment, qualifications, school improvement, tackling educational disadvantage. All of these areas would be underpinned by increased investment and a more coherent approach to teacher professional learning. So 5 key areas, all underpinned by sustained investment in teacher professional learning. So why these areas? Well, firstly, education research is very clear. High quality teaching and learning are at the heart of driving educational improvement. And I particularly like this quote from the McKinsey report because I think it summarises it very neatly. All successful school systems ground changes in the classroom, focusing first and foremost on teachers and the content they deliver. The second key reason that we're focusing on these areas in Northern Ireland is because over the last 10 to 15 years, as a system at system level, they've had limited investment and limited focus from the department. All of these areas are now in need of reflection, evaluation and improvement. So TransformED aims to provide a series of coherent and evidence-based actions to improve education delivery in each of these areas. The strategy also aims to take a slightly different approach to education policy. It aims to place our education system in the wider international context. And that's not just cutting and pasting from other places or saying that other places have got it right and we've got it wrong. Far from it. There's a number, though, of core features that most high-performing countries share. And these include investing in high-quality early years education, designing knowledge-rich curricula aiming for depth of learning as well as breadth, setting high academic expectations for all students with clearly defined learning outcomes, and helping children take on challenges with strong support. And this kind of approach ensures that young people acquire the essential knowledge and skills to succeed in life and later in the workforce. Top performing systems also combine school autonomy with support, not sanctions, to ensure long-term, high-quality school improvement. And above all, as you all know, the core feature of all high-performing systems is good teaching in the classroom. Good teaching in the classroom is the single most critical factor in improving outcomes for all of our children, particularly our children from disadvantaged backgrounds. And this is a core focus of the TransformED strategy. About half the actions within TransformED relate to investment in teacher professional learning through every phase of a teacher's career, from initial teacher education, early career development, right through to leadership development at the other end. These are areas that haven't had resource or investment and that need significant investment over the next number of years. So, as a system, we're beginning this reform journey. We think it's really important that we start with an honest understanding of where we are now, and that we have that conversation about where we are now within the wider international context. The TransformED strategy sums it up with the statement that many countries in the world over the last decade have improved their school systems faster than Northern Ireland and have smaller gaps between the more and less affluent. That's not to say our system doesn't have many strengths to build upon, the outcomes of our school leavers have been improving steadily over the last decade. And international studies, Timms and Pearls, show that at primary level, outcomes in literacy and numeracy are very strong. However, our PISA outcomes show that the education system has stagnated. Our outcomes in PISA are strong in reading, but at 15 our children are only average in maths and science. And critically, over the last decade, we are now lower than both England and our nearest neighbours in the Republic of Ireland, who have both overtaken us in PISA. And as in many systems, there remains in Northern Ireland a strong correlation between socio-economic disadvantage and educational outcomes. The gap is closing slowly, but much too slowly. And there are significant variations in outcomes between schools with the same levels of disadvantage. So schools with similar levels of disadvantage, some have very high GCSE results, some are performing quite weakly. Action short of strike has also left us for many years without either inspection or effective measures of system or pupil performance. And that does make Northern Ireland an outlier in not having that basic data about how our children are performing in literacy and numeracy within the national context. Equally, as I mentioned earlier, we have not invested in a coherent approach to professional development, nor sufficiently in curriculum advice and resources for US school leaders and for teachers in the classroom. That needs to change. So, some of the points there about the education system. So, in TransformED, we set out a vision for education in Northern Ireland for a coherent, high-performing education system focused on excellence and equity for all. And there's a number of principles that underpin the development of TransformED. Excellence and equity, I think I've mentioned learning from global best practice and evidence-based approaches. A couple of other pieces that I want to draw to your attention in terms of underlying principles are system coherence. And what do we mean by that? We mean not an initiative here or an initiative there, but actually joined up thinking across those key areas of curriculum, assessment, qualifications, that reform in one area complements reform in another, and that they all have that firm building block of investment in the teaching workforce. The idea is to reduce fragmentation and to make sure that you can see how the different aspects of change are working together and come together under this one strategic framework of TransformED. The final key principle that underpins TransformED is empowering educators and school leaders. That emphasis on high quality professional development, but also on you as leaders who will lead change across the system. And we've tried to pull that together in a 10-point plan for educational excellence. And if you don't want to read anything else or you want a quick read, I would really recommend having a look at the 10-point plan. It's 4 pages, 10 strategic commitments, and it will probably tell you everything you need to know about TransformED. It will tell you all the key areas that we're hoping to drive reform in over the next number of years. So it's a 10-point plan, and the 10 actions can be summarised: review and redesign of the curriculum, which we're obviously talking about today, greater investment in professional learning, new literacy and numeracy strategies, and a new school improvement policy, a new system of attainment measures, a comprehensive review of qualifications, a more integrated approach to tackling educational disadvantage, new legislation to ensure that all learners remain in education, apprenticeship or training until age 18, and a coherent accountability framework for education to demonstrate value to government, taxpayers and parents. And you can see each of those actions are interlinked, because effective education systems are marked by coherence in which each aspect of the system are well aligned with each other. So that's a little summary of the TransformED strategy. You'll have had a little leaflet with that on. Again, just trying to summarise for you the key commitments within the TransformED strategy. And I will very quickly take you through the key areas of focus. So hopefully if somebody asks you what is TransformED about, you'll have a clear picture of these key areas. First area I've mentioned already at length is teacher professional learning, and I hope that you will have seen over the last number of months the significant steps forward that we're hoping to take in that area. We've rolled out the TPL fund, which is £31 million of investment, and that's a budget for each school to spend on your priorities and developing your staff. We've an expanded induction offer this year for early career teachers, and we hope to build on that over the next number of years by an online learning modules as well to accompany the induction programme for early career teachers. Making Best Practice Common Practice programme is the monthly newsletters about science of learning, and also the annual Research Informed Conference that again we want to fund you to host and deliver on topics of interest. Science of Learning programme has been rolled out to post-primary, and I know many people have asked me when is the Science of Learning programme going to be rolled out to primary. It's in procurement. We're getting a provider for Science of Learning for online TPL for your staff, and we will have that in place for January. It'll be rolled out to all primary schools free of charge as an online programme in January. Again, over the next number of months, we hope to turn our focus to investment in leadership, in a new qualification for headship, and also in a support programme for you as experienced principals. And all of that will be summarised in a revised strategy for professional learning. I'll just run through these quickly. Second key area of focus is curriculum. That's obviously the focus of today. Over the last year, we had Lucy Crane's strategic review of curriculum. I would encourage everybody to have a look at that and its key findings. It says we need a new curriculum framework for Northern Ireland that is more specific, to improve sequencing, and which is knowledge-rich and purpose-led. The department has published a response and set up the curriculum task force. We're now recruiting to the subject groups, and again, I would encourage all of you to be part of that process. Those subject groups will determine the statutory content of the new curriculum across all subject areas. New curriculum framework we hope to have designed and consult with you on it by March, with implementation from September 2027. We will have a year of developing resources and training, and we hope to be in the position to start a phased implementation of the new curriculum by September 2027. Third key area you heard Tim Oates talk earlier is around assessment. We've introduced a new system level sample assessment for children aged 8, 11 and 14. And those are tests designed, administered by SIA. The first tests will be rolled out in March. The results will only be published at system level. So they're not about your individual school or performance of individual pupils. It's to give us an idea of how our system is performing in literacy and numeracy. They should be very low stakes for you as schools and low stakes for your children as well. But they will give us a really clear idea of how we're doing in literacy and numeracy at those key benchmark ages. We're also investing in SIA's product, the Computer Adaptive Assessment, to roll that out as a potential free alternative to GL's PTM and PTE assessments that you use, and again, to be free at the point of delivery for all schools to use. You heard Tim talk earlier, and the wider piece is that review of statutory assessment. He will be launching later this week a survey for teachers and a call for evidence. And again, please give your views and feedback. I know there's a lot going on, but please give your views and feedback on that to help inform the new system of assessment that we want to stand up. Qualifications, I know, are probably of less interest to this audience, but I wanted to just mention we're consulting at the minute on a new qualifications framework. Our children are taking high stakes assessment at year 11, year 12, year 13, year 14. At A level, they're maybe taking up to 6 exams. In England, they're taking 2 exams. So we want to reduce the content, reduce the number of examinations, potentially move away from the AS model so that children aren't taking high stakes exams in year 13, and that there's more time for teaching and learning in the classroom, for deeper learning and understanding. Other key area of TransformED is school improvement. We hope to introduce a new school improvement policy, setting out a revised model of support for schools that are identified as needing support through inspection, and also the level of support that all schools can expect across our system. This will be accompanied by new legislation to safeguard school inspection and a broader review in the new year of our accountability frameworks in Northern Ireland. The final key area of the TransformED strategy is tackling educational disadvantage, primarily through the RAISE programme, which has a wide number of cross-cutting initiatives, a lot of them focused on literacy and numeracy, also locality-led plans. We will also be rolling out targeted literacy and numeracy interventions to support teachers in the classroom as part of our new literacy and numeracy strategies. That's tackling educational disadvantage. So the TransformED strategy, we believe, is an important beginning, but it is only that, it is only a beginning. We need to work with you to step it up, to roll it out, to manage change together. And we hope to implement over the next number of years a coherent approach to system-wide reform, a clear vision through the TransformED programme, with implementation by design and not by chance. But we need your feedback and your input into change. This is not change that the department wants to do onto the system. We want to work with you to take forward change in these important areas. Communication and co-design are all important. Our commitment is we will keep you regularly updated. We've started publishing quarterly TransformED newsletters, and they will keep you up to date on change. We'll communicate through the social media, through the DE website. We'll hold regular workshops and conferences. We'd also ask you to get involved, providing your feedback through the calls for evidence, through the consultations we're having, and through the many working groups that we hope to set up, not least for curriculum reform. We want to hear your feedback, and we want to work with you to take forward the TransformED programme. So very briefly, I'm not sure we will have much time for questions and discussion, but if anybody has any burning questions or if anyone wants to talk to me afterwards, please do. Look, thank you very much. Please do come and have a conversation if there's anything else you want to know about TransformED. Thank you so much.